thank you guys for being out here today. Obviously, it's great to have a tremendous media presence and focusing on our football program. But day one in the books, very excited, obviously, to get out there and see what we're capable of. Plenty of guys were here in the spring, but still a ton of new faces, especially on the defensive side of the ball. They got to see them get live reps today. And a lot of good and a lot of bad and a lot of things to clean up. I think the biggest thing is just continue to learn how we practice, how we do things. It seems like eons ago that we were in spring ball, so just teaching you guys reminders of how we do things. The effort was there. It was obviously a warm day here in Memphis, which is a good thing. We're going to need that to much to the happiness of all of our fans with that 3:30 kickoff of that first game, right? So we got to get used to this heat and being out there. So, look, lots to clean up like there always is in day one. Got to see some of the base fundamentals show up, but with the off seasons being what they are, right? With the OTAs, the ability to meet at certain times and guys staying locked in and really care about it. There weren't a ton of mistakes mentally, but some things we got to get cleaned up physically. Obviously, different looks on offense, defense, and special teams. But look, that's just one day down. I told the guys it was just okay, and okay is not even close to what we're looking for. We have a certain standard and an expectation that we have to meet every single day. Those that have been around here in the past know what that means, but we have too many guys that haven't been around here. And so it's my job to teach them and show them through the film and through the efforts of what we're looking for day in, day out. But all in all, look, it's exciting to be back, and can't be happier to be back on the grass, and that's work, a game we love, but so much work to do. We're not even close to being ready for game one, but that's the expectation in training camp to get better every single day, and we certainly will.
Ryan, how are you viewing the quarterback battle on day one of preseason camp versus day one of spring ball?
Yeah, day one of spring ball, last time I had seen A.J. Hill throw a football was live and in person at one of his games, right? And then so it was the opportunity to go out there and see what he can do, right? Could even handle a college offense. Arrington Maiden had gotten one true rep right on a quarterback pull run that was for -3 yards, right? So that was my last memory of what he was capable. Obviously, I watched him practice and through bowl prep and all those things. And then obviously had no idea even what Brennan Lewis was capable of, right? You got to watch his game film, but it had been a long time since he had played, right? His season ended Thanksgiving weekend last year. So it had been a long time since those guys had been playing football. So spring was kind of like, all right, let's just see who can continue to learn this offense and progress nicely. This time, all three quarterbacks that are competing for the starting job have a firm and well understanding of this offense. And now it's just, okay, who can go out there and make the right throws, make the right reads, hand the ball off when appropriate, put us in the best position to have success. And that's kind of how we're going to grade each practice, is which quarterback gives us the best chance, and the offense the best chance to have success. That doesn't always mean the 70-yard touchdown throw, because that could be followed up by a 70-yard pick six, right? And so it's who can be efficient, who can get things done. I know the media hates the word game manager, but man, I want someone who can go out there and manage this offense, and if that means throwing for 500 yards and 6 touchdowns, great. If that means hand the ball 50 times and throwing at 15, then so be it.
Do you even have, with the roster being as new as it is, do you even have who you feel is in the ones or the twos or whatever in terms of just the whole roster, not just the quarterback?
Yeah, I always tell guys, and I even told the team last night, like even Wayne Whitlow isn't even promised a starting job, right? Regardless of his accolades, his stats from last year, there is no true depth charts. I showed yesterday a blank white screen. I said, everybody's got a blank slate. Even what you did in spring, that doesn't mean anything, right? Because some guys have done some really nice things in the offseason. Some guys are injured. Some guys are taking nice steps by learning the schemes in all three phases. So, yeah, you have an initial depth chart. That's just for organization. And this is not coach speak, but I think so much of it, I don't control the depth chart. The players do, right? By how they play. Today, there may have been a guy that went with the twos that's going to go with the ones tomorrow. There may have been a guy that went with the ones today that, he's going to go with the threes because his effort went and need to be. So there's going to be a lot of that. Obviously, there's certain positions, right? You want to develop the chemistry of wide receivers and quarterbacks and O-line. But this early in camp, we just want to see you can play football at a high level day in, day out and consistently.
Feels like to the outside, this team is a lot of unknowns. Obviously, these guys on a personal level much more than we do, but even beyond quarterback, to you coming into this year compared to the last couple, does it feel like a mystery box of sorts?
Matt, absolutely. Look, I don't think any coach can sit there and say, even some of those with 75 to 80% roster retention, there is more unknowns in college football than ever before. And I'll be the first to say, especially with our roster, like, oh, well, Ryan, didn't you watch film? Of course. It's no different, right? Like, I watched a guy in high school. That doesn't mean it's going to be, you never know what you're getting. Like, why do 5-star quarterbacks completely miss and don't make it in college ball? Well, there's a development part of those things, no different than transfers, right? Hey, what is this guy capable of? Maybe we missed something. I tell you guys all the time, like, the one thing we'll never try to miss on when we're bringing in a high school guy or any player into our program is character. And so, like, that's one thing I hang my hat on. Like, these guys are willing to work, and they got the right mindset and the right approach, and they love ball as far as I can tell, and the right character. Unless they completely fooled us during the process, which I've been fooled many times. And then now, what's that football skill set look like? And so, yeah, there are so many unknowns. And so every day, it's like, man, and now more than ever, like, I try to get around as much of the individual as I can of every position. So on a night like tonight, normally I get to watch the team, maybe the 7-on-7, inside, those things, and then go home. Like, I need to go watch, because I didn't get a chance to watch the tight ends individual, right? Like, I need to go watch, even, everybody say, aren't you hanging around the O-line to an extent? I need to go and watch wide receiver route progression. I need to go watch what the D-line did. And then I can get a better feel for it. And then, okay, what's it look like the next practice during those live team sessions, all those things. And as we move on, I'll get a better understanding of what each player is capable of.
What is the progression for Sutton Smith now, his protocol as far as he's got the big brace on his leg now? You bring him along slowly. Will he be ready when you put the full pads on?
Yeah, Sutton's given the green light to be a full go. Obviously, we're going to be smart with him because he's never played a full season, right? But he's capable, and we have high expectations for him. And I remember standing here last year at this exact same time, like, you guys all asked, who is it going to be? Is it going to be Sutton or Mario, right? And that was, hey, we got 2 great backs, and you guys didn't even ask me about Greg DeWosier, right? And so Sutton is full go. We're going to be smart with him, though, because anytime you're coming off an ACL, right, you don't want to run him to the ground. He's also now going into his 4th year of college football at that position, but he's worked tremendously hard to get back to where he needs to be. And just like I said last year this time, we have very, very high expectations of Sutton Smith, and he's done a phenomenal job rehabbing with recovery. So he's full go, and if he had his ways, he'd get every rep and every play of practice.
So how about Woozy, DeRosier? He was him last year when he was healthy. So
yeah, Greg DeWosier obviously is again, people say, well, compare him to Sutton and what kind of running backs are they? Like, they're both very talented. Both of them can be a return specialist, kickoff returners, punt returners. Greg has that skill set where he's able to catch the ball out of the backfield, do all those things. And then Greg, again, people said, well, he had a pretty good season, but you guys forgot, like, his breakout game was a little bit versus Florida State, broke his collarbone on that 3rd down catch, and then was out for 7 weeks, and everybody forgot, oh, wait, he's on the roster. We forgot about Sutton Smith. Greg comes back, Tulane game, and we see what he's capable of. And then the West Virginia game, and feel like, oh, wait, that's another good running back. And so we feel very fortunate. But it's funny because, the guys that we assume will get the majority of the carries this year were all on the roster last year, plus Mario Anderson. So we're going to need those guys to stay healthy. Let's call it what it is. Now, we won't be as effective without sounding asinine. Like, of course, we're not going to be as good if those guys aren't healthy. But we need them to be, and then you got to prove that they're able to be, hopefully, right, 14-game, 15-game type running backs.
What about Makari Botifer, real quick?
Do you
envision him like a Brandon Thomas, like short yardage?
Well, I hope so. It's so funny. I was having a conversation with some journalists the other day, and, like, everybody thinks that Brandon Thomas was like 230 pounds just because he looked. I mean, calves like mine, just massive, beautiful calves, muscular. Kind of look like me. No, but Brandon only weighed like 202. He just ran full speed ahead with an intensity and, like, get the hell out of my way and would run your butt over. But Makari's 225. Makari's 19 years old, and I told him, I want him to be the short yardage goal line running back. That doesn't mean that other guys can't, but we also feel like there's a spot for him, right? Because does that mean we can line Sutton and Greg up at other spots, depending on where we're at and depending on the health of them? But if you asked me last year, did I think Makari Botifer would get a ton of carries? We know what happened in the USF game and the incident. We were down and we had to use a wide receiver at running back in that game as well. And the next thing you know, Makari's getting a ton of carries in that game. So we think he's certainly capable.
Do you feel like your running back room is the one that has the most questions answered on day one of camp?
That's a great question. It's like because there's so many unknowns at wide receiver, right? Like, there really are. Like, but Brady Cluse should be good. Cool. Brady Cluse had 4 catches last year and played some special teams. That's great. Like, We don't have a whole bunch of guys that played Division I football with a lot of catches last season. In fact, believe it or not, our leading receiver last year, I did this study last week of Division I wide receivers, was actually Marcelo Bussi. He had 10 catches, but he also had a torn ACL. So you look at it, you're like, whoa. Jane Thompson had been productive at one point in his college career, also had a torn ACL last season, right? You look at some of our guys, so you look, Jakari Caldwell had production, but it was at a FCS program. So you sit there and say, man, like C.J. Smith, we all saw he's capable in the spring. C.J. Smith has not been healthy much of his career. If he can be healthy, could he be special? Absolutely. So unknowns there. I think the tight end room's got some really good guys we're excited about that have shown some good things. I'd say this. I think there's the most depth at any position, either at running back or at O-line. Now, if the wide receiver room's healthy, and again, guys, like those are big ifs and capable, then they can be fine and have a lot of depth too. Obviously, like I also think we got 3 quarterbacks who play big-time football in this conference. But guys I've seen play college football, yes, I'd say those 3, right? I mean, it's and without a doubt. But there's some guys at the O-line that play college football that I think can come in and fill in nicely as well.
As we continue in this transfer portal era of football, is there anything that you feel like you have figured out when it comes to that, that you can take into a fall camp that maybe you didn't have a year or 2 ago?
Let me know if anybody figures it out. Like, if you can ask that head coach that question, like, yeah, have you figured this thing out? Like, let me know, and I got to go pick his brain. No, it's ever-changing, and that's one thing that we can hang our hat on is, like, the one thing I always try to be proactive on is the calendar and understanding this. And now they're talking about going to one portal window and then moving it. Like, that changes the way we recruit. They're talking about next year going to June 1st signing date. Does that mean now in spring ball is when we do our official visits? But we try to stay ahead of the curve. We try to be proactive on all these things. We've got a supportive administration that tries to, lead us in the right direction with some of that stuff. But there's so many unknowns. And the biggest thing is what I told our team with all these unknowns in the transfer portal world, rev share, is let's be the best at controlling what we can control. Like I tell our staff all the time, like, let's be the #1 team in the country at the controllables. We can't control if it was 100 degrees outside. We can't control, having to go on the road for games 2 and 3. We can't control any of those things, but we can control the way we practice, our attitude and approach. So every day, regardless of what happens, we may wake up tomorrow and they may say, hey, the season's moved up 2 weeks. We got to go play football next week. Cool. Crazier things have happened in college football. So, but we'll be ready, and we want to be really good at the things that we can handle ourselves.
With the receivers, obviously, the guys you mentioned, even other guys who are in that room, there's so much like production spots up for grabs. What can those guys do? What have you told them in terms of how do you get to that point where you are getting those reps?
Yeah, go out there and compete and be able to make plays, right? Like the sexy 60-yard catch, and that's all you've done all practice. That don't do it for me, right? Can you block efficiently, right? Can you run the right routes? Are you willing to do what you need to? And when you catch in the 5-yard pass, can you get to 8 yards, right? Can you be in the right landmarks? Can you do it? What else can you provide on special teams? So I think those are all those things. And that room knows, like, right, guys, we got a grab bag and we're shaking up and seeing who's capable of going out there and playing. I'm okay if it's 7 or 8 guys, right? Like, that's okay to have that. Last year we knew going into it, like this time last year, day 1, you guys were saying, well, how was Rock, right? How was Demir?
Yeah.
And so we had a great understanding of a lot of those positions. And for those guys, they know, like, okay, can I step up and make plays? But it's not just that one play. It's going to be consistent. And just like all those guys, like, can I stack days? And I think that's what we're looking for a lot of positions, at almost everything. I have the same questions at defense back, right? Like a lot of guys that we think can play, but can I see it today? And can I see it tomorrow? And then keep stacking the days. And then be able to mentally handle, right, the adversity and plus all the changes and all the things that we're doing schematically.
Right.
Coach, with all the new faces and gone on offense and defense with Seth and Chandler as a big board on leadership and chemistry, how did you try to develop those in the coming days?
Yeah, that's a great question, Terry. So the 2 things I told the team that were my biggest concern, I actually mentioned this a little bit at the media day, like our leadership, right? Because I think, 18 to 23-year-olds, sometimes they're afraid to step up and talk, and that's my job to develop that. I firmly believe, like, it's easy to say, well, they got to learn it. No, it's my job to teach that. That's one of those things I've had to try to develop in the off-season with certain individuals. And then also, like, camaraderie, mental toughness, all those things. But we do enough stuff in the off-season. We're going to do stuff during the season. We'll have each player is partnered up with another player, accountability partner. And so it may be a senior linebacker that is tied in with a freshman wide receiver that, like, oh, who is that kid? And they're looking across the team, and oh, that's who I've got to be forced to eat breakfast with every day, and get to know and have an understanding. We'll do trivia questions, and guys like, hey, this is, a certain player from this city, and these were what he's known for. He can play the saxophone. Who is it? So trying to get those. We actually do group bonding out here on the indoors on off days, so guys can tell their story. It's amazing. So those are part of it. I've shared with you guys in the past. We actually do pictures in the back of the locker of people that are important to the guys, right? So like, okay, who is it? Well, my grandmother. I have a picture of her in the back of my locker because she sacrificed to get me here. Well, tell us about your grandmother. And so now they get to know a little bit about the story. They get to know a little bit about each other. So those are the things with all the new faces, right? We're trying to learn and build camaraderie. But there's nothing better than going out there with blood, sweat, and tears and getting after it with your teammates, and enjoying it, celebrating the good, taking the hard coaching, building through the adversity. But we're going to have other things, right? Like we'll get together and try to enjoy those things, but it's all part of it. And there's nothing that overtakes that time together in the locker room.
Thank you, Coach.
Thank you guys. Appreciate y'all being out here.
Thanks, Coach.